Ladies and gentlemen, it is a very important time in the United States with the absolutely huge election upcoming in November. I thought it would be a good activity to go through the three most important states that will decide the 2024 U.S. presidential election, an election we all expect to be between Joe Biden and Donald Trump. Now, when it comes to the 2024 consensus, this is just on 270 to win. And let me just say, in looking at this, the fact that just in these consensus states, the Republicans are beating the Democrats 235 to 226, it is basically inconceivable to me, considering I started following politics in 2015. And in the 2016 election, the math was always ridiculously hard for conservatives. Trump had to basically run the table on every swing state to win. And in 2020, the math was still very hard for conservatives because at that point, Ohio and Florida were both still considered swing states. But now, with the shift of Ohio and Florida, the math for Trump is a lot more digestible. It's a lot easier to conceive him possibly winning. When it comes to, you can see that the states that are leaning Republican right now, are there any states that I think Biden could win? The state that I would look at would possibly be North Carolina. Now, Trump did win North Carolina in both 2016 and 2020, but it was by a very slim margin. However, the early polling that we've seen from North Carolina suggests Trump is probably going to win it by even more than he won in 2016 and 2020. It is very early, right? Anything could happen, but right now it seems like Trump should win North Carolina. And then when it comes to Democratic states that I think Trump could win on this map, it would be New Hampshire. Now, New Hampshire is only 4 electoral votes. It's kind of inconsequential, but I think New Hampshire is more of a swing state. I could understand people saying it's leaning Democrat based off of recent history. The other states possibly, it's that one electoral vote, the one district in Nebraska. That's another one that I think Trump could win. Virginia's kind of interesting. I would still lean it towards Democrat just based off of the margin in which Biden won it in 2020. Minnesota is another one. We'll see. Maybe get some new polls out of Minnesota. I know the ones that I saw from a while ago only had Biden up by 4 or 5, but generally I would agree with this consensus map at this point. And when you look at all the swing states, 3 in the Rust Belt, Wisconsin, Minnesota, Pennsylvania, you've got Georgia, you've got Nevada, and you have Arizona. What are the 3 most important states? I'm going to go in order from number 3 to number 1. This is mainly just based off of electoral votes in states that I truly do think are swing states. So again, right now you've got Trump at 235, Biden at 226. Very close race. When it comes to the number 3 most important state, I'm going to say it is Michigan. Now, Michigan is a Rust Belt state. Biden did win Michigan barely in 2020, and we can take a look at the initial early polling. The most key thing to look at when you look at polls like this is when were the polls taken. So you do have actually 4 polls that were taken in February of 2024. The Detroit News poll was taken at the start of 2024. So all these polls are kind of at least a little bit meaningful based on what's been going on. And you do have Trump enjoying about a 3.5 point lead, winning every single one of these polls. This doesn't surprise me at all. If you look, and people say the popular vote doesn't matter, but if you have Donald Trump leading the popular vote nationally, in terms of just the polls, it's so seismic and it's so devastating considering what happened in 2020 with Biden going into the election, winning the popular vote. If you look at the overall Real Clear Politics average by 7.5 points, he only wins the popular vote in the general by 4 points, so they overshot the Democrats by 3 points, and that doesn't even take into account that Trump can lose the popular vote by 3 points and still very easily win the election. We saw that with Hillary back in 2016. So if he's winning the popular vote, it's almost a guarantee that he's going to be winning all of these swing states just based on how the math works in the United States. So Trump right now up 3.5. Again, it's early. It doesn't surprise me. If he's going to be winning the popular vote, he's going to be up 3 or 4 points in Michigan. But just why is Michigan the number 3 most important state? Because I view it right now as completely a swing state, and it does have 15 electoral votes. It is very key. When it comes to the number 2 most important state, it is going to be Georgia, and it's 16 electoral votes. Georgia, a conservative state that went Democrat in 2020 by the tiniest of margins. Trump leading throughout the first day of counting in Georgia, and then Biden barely wins it. I still think Georgia is a conservative state. I thought it was ridiculous that people were considering it a swing state in 2020. I figured Trump, it would kind of be like Texas, where the Democrats would think, oh, we have a chance at Texas, we have a chance at Georgia, and they would lose it, and they end up winning it. But you can see the recent polling even more so in favor of Trump at around plus 6.5. You also do have that racketeering case in Georgia. And I think the big issue for many of these Democrats who are hoping that these charges against Trump are going to swing independent people, a lot of these independent people are starting to realize that a lot of these charges are just sham and ridiculous. And you look at the judges, how biased they are. You know, the black woman in Georgia who gets questioned and then just goes off on a tangent. How dare you question me? This is about Trump. It's just all so ridiculous. The dude from New York who looks like a sewer rat, just disgusting looking person. People just don't care about these charges against Trump because it's seen politically motivated. If I was a Democrat, I would do anything in my power to try and keep it as non-biased as possible in terms of trying to get Trump charged rather than having all these Democratic judges come on and do it, because you're really just insulting all of these independent people's intelligence. But it's like, oh, Donald Trump is this big felon. Yeah, who's charging him? It's all people that hate Trump. Oh, no wonder they'll find him guilty. Yes, a black woman who hates Trump finds Trump guilty. Wow, I'm shocked. Crazy. And a lot of these independent people, they've come out and they're like, this is ridiculous. We don't buy it. And it's going to be a big problem. That's the one thing that Democrats, and also Nikki Haley, the only reason she's still in the race is because she hopes something legally will happen to Trump. It's just ridiculous. There is no political reason to be in this race. And then the media just continues to waste their time writing these stories and trying to swing it like Nikki Haley, she's still fighting. No, she's not. She's not fighting. She's trying to hope Trump gets charged and she can take over by having the second most amount of delegates in the Republican field. She's the only other option to Trump. There's no fight left. She lost her home state. She lost to nobody in Nevada. And now you also have a lot of Americans with the opinion to where there's so much manipulation, just like we saw in 2020 with social media. There's so much political bias within our justice system online. Many of these people think if Trump gets charged, it's just more indication that there are biases. So I don't think that's really going to have the effect that Democrats think it will. Of course, the other thing that we can speculate, and if you are the Democrats, the other thing that you can do is you can just remove Biden and say he's too old, whatever, go with someone else. We'll see if they end up doing that. It is getting kind of late in the race to pull something like that. But you also do have that option as well. And then to me, the most important state in 2024, it is Pennsylvania. And it's very simple. Pennsylvania, we know for a fact, is a pure swing state in 2024. Trump barely won it in 2016. Biden barely won it in 2020. And it is the one swing state that has the most electoral votes with 19. It is the most important state. Whoever wins Pennsylvania, I'm not going to say is winning the election guaranteed, because there are scenarios where Biden could win Pennsylvania, but if Trump wins some of these other states that he's up in, he would still win the election. But Pennsylvania, to me, is extremely, extremely important. There is no way you could say it's a pro-Biden state, it's a pro-Trump state. It is 50-50, 100% right now. You take a look at the recent polls, it's got Biden up by less than a single point. So for me right now, the way I see it, the three most important states in 2024, at least based on the polling that we've gotten in the 2024 consensus, would be number 3, Michigan, number 2, Georgia, and then number 1, Pennsylvania. And you also do have Arizona and Nevada. They've got a little bit less electoral votes. They both are trending towards Trump, and they both are swing states, and they are important. But in terms of the states with the most electoral votes that are still complete swing states, it would be those 3. You could try and make an argument for North Carolina. You could maybe make an argument for a few others, but at this point, with the way the math is, and with conservatives taking Florida and taking Ohio, and with the Democrats making Georgia a swing state, it's kind of shifted things to where Georgia becomes extremely important, along with Pennsylvania, along with Michigan. But guys, that is going to do it for this video. Make sure you follow me on X. Link to that's always in the description.